Live on DSTV channel 41, Go TV 144. This is Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. Our headlines this hour. I will commit suicide. I will die. My husband has stopped speaking. These are the sentiments of bondholders who rely solely on coupons from government bonds. In this bulletin, we'll share how some of them broke down over fears their livelihoods will be wiped up if government goes ahead to include their bonds in the debt restructuring program.
Tell us that if you don't participate, you lose your money. Then some of us will commit suicide rather than go through the pain.
He barely talks. Even if you want to have a discussion with him, he hardly responds. I'm also a housewife. I don't work. So how am I going to survive? How?
Meanwhile, the Bondholders Forum is mobilizing to reject government's invitation to a make-or-break debt exchange program.
After having done this for 22 years, I come back only to come and meet you telling me you are going to use your money to pay an external debt. So it's not good in any way.
DVLA indicts 4 staff members and announces sweeping reforms after Corruption Watch documentary revealed illegal printing of licenses by some workers.
Your license, nearly 1 week, but then 1,003. Then 1 month, 1,001. Yeah, you have a normal one, 800. And we know you have a sort of officers.
We'll bring you details. Also in this package, KNUST scientists find unacceptable levels of bacteria fungi in FDA-approved male sexual enhancement herbal drugs. Hello again, I'm Ernest Kojo Manu. Many thanks for choosing us. It's a hopeless situation. That's the feeling of some bondholders who say government's inclusion of individual bonds in the debt exchange program will leave them without any hope of survival. Government initially excluded individual bondholders in the program, but the program suffered a setback after organized labor forced government to exclude pension funds. It's now turned to individual bondholders, but that won't also come easy as they also resist an attempt by government to add them. They have started mobilizing to oppose the move. First though, listen to a 65-year-old pensioner, Larry Jage, who says he's invested all his severance package into government's bond and will struggle to survive if his coupons are withheld. Auntie Akos is also a wife and another bondholder who says her entire family's livelihoods depend on the bond they hold with government. They spoke on the Super Morning Show.
My husband invested in government bonds, I think 2 years ago. He was laid off. He was laid off for no reason. He had a redundancy package, including his personal savings, which is worth a lot. I don't want to say it on air. He's at home. He hardly sleeps. He hardly talks about it. And we have school fees to pay. Our oldest is 16 years old. And we have twins. Our oldest and our twins, they are 3. As I know, we've not paid their school fees. And that's our only livelihood. I don't even know how we will survive if they include us. I'm also a housewife. I don't work. So how am I going to survive? How? We are begging the government. Just imagine someone will be in their house eating, taking the kids to school, doing everything. And your livelihood, something you have suffered for so many years, you are being ripped of it. Is it fair? Is it fair?
You say your husband hasn't been talking.
No.
How has this affected him?
He barely sleeps at night. He barely talks. Even if you want to have a discussion with him, he hardly responds. I'm young. I don't want to even lose my husband. Please help me.
Those taking these decisions, are they thinking about pensioners, grown people who have to buy drugs, the unemployed who lost their jobs during the financial sector restructuring, and whatever they have, they invested in government securities? Have they committed any crime? Why can't you be very specific and tell us that if you don't participate, you lose your money? Then some of us will commit suicide rather than go through the pain.
Oh, please don't contemplate that.
I'm 66 in March, my brother or my son. I'll be 66. And there are so many people. Maybe I can survive, but I know friends who work in the public service, who are doing nothing presently. All the investment are out there, and you're telling them without interfacing with them on one-to-one or giving them information that take it or leave it. What sort of attitude is that? That is the way some of us feel. The Minister for Finance, Companies and Commissions on the loans that we are paying now. Why shouldn't he return the commissions to ameliorate the situation for the country? But we, the poorer people, are being asked to give our money at 15, 20 years. What sort of leadership is this? And then you hear things like, we want to build cathedral. We want to do this. If you have money to build cathedral, you have money to do some of this.
So those are two individual bondholders. Now, Roberta is also another bondholder who says she's unemployed and relies solely on the bond coupons to take care of her family. She shared her chilling story with Evans Mensah on PM Express Tuesday.
31st December 2020, I left, 21, I left the job. January, I used it to buy the bonds because I was expecting that the coupon will help me pay school fees. The coupon will help with my upkeep till I land myself a new job. So that is how come I bought the bonds. I had the option to either buy T-bill or the bonds. But I bought the bonds because I considered the coupon rate, and then even though it was inadequate, but I thought that would help me a bit. That would cushion me a bit till I land myself another job. Okay. I think this January is the second time I'm having a coupon. I'm getting an interest on the bond.
Have they paid your January coupon?
Yes, because that one matured on the 3rd of January.
On the 3rd of January.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And you say that you're also a mother, and that's where you use the interest to pay your children's school fees.
And for the family upkeep, yes, that's what I use. I help together with my husband. That's what we feed on. That's what we are surviving on.
How many children do you have? And are they all of them in school?
Yes, I have 5 children. The first one is now entering into the university. The second one is done with, it's also about entering into SHS. I have a set of twins, and then the one is also in JHS too.
Okay. So all these children rely on the bonds and the returns you get, so they survive and they pay their school fees.
Yes, the coupon, yes.
The coupons, okay. I get it. So this is a family of 7 then, that all rely on the bonds that you bought.
Yeah, I'm a Reverend Minister. I started teaching, stopped teaching, and was a full-time Reverend Minister of the Global Evangelical Church. And when I retired, I had to use my money to buy a bond before this problem.
Okay. You want to share with us how much bonds you bought with your retirement package?
The money?
Yes.
Not advisable, my brother.
Okay.
But the money I got from my business unit contribution, I was having some properties, piece of land. I sold it, had the money together so that I can make the profits from my bond and take care of my children.
So those are the stories of bondholders, and we are putting faces to the individual bondholders. And just in case you think that these are people who are extremely wealthy and may not take a hit because of the program, there you have it. But tonight, there's a push to force government to reverse the decision. Senor Hossi is the convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum.
Finance Minister knows, the Attorney General knows that the power is not in their hands. It's in the counterparty. It's in the counterparty with that individual. Every single person anywhere, the government has a primary responsibility to keep that contract and honor it. If it wants to deviate from it, it has a responsibility to engage you. Are we being engaged? No, we are being instructed. That's not going to happen. And all we are asking for is simple. Let's be at the table and negotiate what really works. If not, we all have to exercise all the options that we have. So to all individual bondholders, it is very simple. Reject it. Nobody say no to the debt domestic debt exchange program. Say no to it. Nobody can force you to do it because government cannot unilaterally decide not to. So your future itself is not even assured under this current one. So please reject it till we agree a deal that works. It's simple. It's the lives of people and the people of Ghana whose interests must be protected. Unfortunately, government is failing at it.
There's also another group that is pushing back, the Pensioners Bondholders Forum. They are asking government to exclude their funds from the debt exchange program.
More opposition for government's debt exchange program. Just a few minutes ago, a group calling itself the Pensioners Bondholders Forum just appealed to government to exclude their funds in good faith, just as it did for the pension schemes. I'll be talking to some of the individuals that make up this forum. What is the backstory for them? How did they take the message from government to decide to go this way? Korte is one of the members of the forum here. Henry, so let me ask you, hearing the message from the minister, the communique from the ministry, that individual bonds were going to be added to the debt exchange program, how did that hit you?
Okay. Initially, when it came, he promised that individual bondholders are not affected. It looks like it's a way, indirect trick to work us in. That's the way I see it. Because how can you start your exemption from the individuals, and then later on, after some few days, you come back and say individuals are included? It's so bad. I will explain to you why it's so bad. I didn't work here. I worked in America throughout my life for almost 22 years. And the way I did my savings is to be saving my money, and I saved the money in bonds. Because you said you needed money, the bonds went to them, but we didn't come to them. You never only go to the bank, they advise you to do treasury bill or bond. After having done this for 22 years, I come back only to come and meet you telling me you are going to use your money to pay an external debt. So it's not good in any way. Because let me tell you, like you are saying, some of us are sick, some of us can fall sick. Like I'm saying, when I came back here, I've contacted Parkinson's disease. You have my money. You see? So like they are saying, they have to change it to me. If they ask me to suggest, they have to change it like our chairman is saying, include even those they have exempted, because it's a national issue.
As far as I'm concerned, they should just leave our money alone. If they send this country to them.
So those are the Pensioners Bondholders Forum. Data analyst with our research desk here at Joy News, Kofi Eje, is joining me in the studio with some answers to some of the questions that you've been asking. Kofi has been looking at the data from the Finance Ministry on really how much of the individual bondholders constitute the entire debt portfolio and what it will mean if government heeds to their demand to exempt them. Kofi, what do we know?
Well, of course, Ernest, we are at this point because of this figure we see here, 467.37 billion Ghana cedis. That's our total debt stock as of September 2022. And if you look at this chart, external component is around 271 billion Ghana cedis, with 195 billion components from the domestic sector. We know government wants to restructure around 137 billion Ghana cedis in this debt exchange program. And every CD here, every billion CD here is very important to government, because I'll be showing you individual bondholders and the structure they hold with government debt. And it's around 16 billion Ghana cedis. Let's tell you that government will actually look at this area because currently pension funds are exempt from this exercise that we're talking about. But if you look at this chart, you actually see that with this new program, it simply means that if you sign on to this program, this year 2022, you've bought a bond. Mind you that you'll be getting 0 as your coupon. This year, you will not get anything. 2024, you'll be getting 5% and then 10% until maturity rise from 2025. So this is the condition. We know government has made a lot of amendments as far as this debt exchange is concerned. But we know there were promises made to, bondholders, treasury bills, everybody. First one is that treasury bills weren't going to, be included in this exercise, and if there will be no haircut on principals, and also the most controversial one currently that we're talking about, individual bondholders will not be affected. This was very categorical. The finance minister actually said this when he launched the domestic debt exchange program, but we actually see a U-turn just on the 30th of December. But we're looking at this chart, and we've been able to glean data on individual investors. If you look at the current domestic debt that government is actually having, the debt stock, as of 2018, it was around 5.76 billion Ghana cedis. This was individual bondholders. They are components of the the domestic debt stock. We've seen it increasing from 2018 to 2021, about 195% rise from 2018 to 2021. And Ernest, I must tell you that if you listen to the accounts of most of the individual bondholders, they started buying their bonds in 2021. If you go to the 2021 debt report, it will tell you that the market was actually being saturated by individual investors. Right after COVID, people were looking for a safe haven to actually store their money. They found hope in bonds. And some along the line, they are being told that their monies will be restructured. But we found this evening, and it's very, very...
And that's interesting because you mentioned treasury bills. Earlier, we were told that will be exempt. We were told there will be no haircuts. Individual bondholders will not be affected. Now, we are finding out from this document that you're gleaning, Kofi, that in the future, government may consider...
Let me read this verbatim. It says that treasury bills issued by the Republic and certain non-marketable securities issued by the Republic are not subject to this invitation. Mind you, this is a particular invitation. That's why individual bondholders are being invited. First, they were in part, but this invitation, they are part. And it says that such, treasury bills and non-marketable securities may, or however, be subject of other exchange and purchases by the government of Ghana from time to time.
So point is, as we speak, they've not been invited to the programs. But in the future, there may be other programs, other exchanges that government may undertake, and you may be invited.
That as a treasury bill holder, come and be part of this.
We don't know what the conditions are, but that is just a signal being given that if there need be, you may be considered for it.
Very true.
Kofi, thank you very much for bringing us all those details. And it's still on the labor front, but away from the debt exchange program. It's been 11 days into this year already, and workers are unsure whether their base pay will be increased as both government and the labor unions are struggling to reach an agreement. The latest meeting has dragged for more than 5 hours, and there's no end in sight. My colleague Michael Ashley has been on this beat for us, and here's his latest report.
The last meeting, sources tell Joy News that government is now willing to pay 20% increment on their base pay, but labor unions rejected that particular offer. After more than 5 hours and several caucus meetings, both parties have failed to seal a deal. The tension between the two groups only continued to grow. The meeting has been adjourned to Thursday, January 12, 2023. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
I'll be monitoring this for you, bringing you more subsequently. To our other top story, the DVLA says it's interdicted 4 members of staff implicated in a recent documentary by Corruption Watch. The film showed how some workers accepted bribes to facilitate the printing of licenses for people who failed to take driving examinations. The story also highlighted a worker at the STC driving school accepting monies to illegally acquire driver's license for his clients. But in a statement issued today, the DVLA said it's introduced sweeping reforms at its branches to close all the gaps. But first, here's an excerpt of that documentary, Money Over Human Lives.
When you look at the law, there are 3 key conditions. You must pass a theory test, you must pass an in-traffic test, you must pass a physical fitness test. So these are 3 issues, conditions that the licensing authority will normally look out for. A deficit on any one of the 3 does not give comfort for the sort of task that is required of you. If you are not physically fit, you may have the skill to drive, but you don't have the knowledge.
In 2014, DVLA introduced the mandatory 48 driving hours or 10 working days driving school training requirement as the first step in acquiring a license. However, at the DVLA's 37 office, this investigation established that contrary to the law, the entire mandatory knowledge acquisition at a driving school has been reduced to a mere illegal purchase of a reference number from staff.
You buy a driving school. I come from a driving school. No. So you buy a driving school. You can provide one for you. You can go and get a driving school.
According to Mr. Kafui Semevo, Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing at DVLA, the reference number or driving school code is not supposed to be sold at DVLA or by DVLA officials.
So what you are calling the driving code is the application fee the person will be paying. But you are paying that fee to the driving school, not DVLA.
Your license, nearly 1 week, but then 1,003. Okay, now 1 month, 1,001. Yeah, you have a normal one, 800. And you know, you have sort of officers in it, like home pass it through that space. It is one touch.
The investigator texted the official to inquire about the in-traffic and road sign tests. He was informed they had all been taken care of. Here, the errand boy does the deal while his boss pretends not to be aware of what is happening right in front of him. The boss only steps in when it is time to bargain. He charged 1,500 Ghana cedis, which was to be paid in full for express service. When the investigator insisted on a reduction, the errand boy referred the issue to his boss, who according to him had the final say.
So we're asking that if we could pay the 1,000, then probably by tomorrow morning we'll be able to pay the rest.
It's my sister, it's a sister. So when you pay, it has a lot of challenges.
COP Ebenezer Francis Doku, Director General of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, disclosed that it is the responsibility of the DVLA to ensure the system is not corrupted, as the MTTD is unable to identify which driver acquired his license through unlawful means once the license is found to be genuine.
If it turns out that the license is genuine, of course, it is not our duty to trace how the driver got his license. We are interested in the genuineness of the license.
And the DVLA has issued a statement. Let me bring you excerpts of that statement in which it announces a raft of reforms at its branches to deal with the issue. So it says management took a critical review of the documentary and made the following observation. The documentary appears to have been recorded in 2019 with a focus on DVLA 37 office and 2022-2021 with focus on the Tamale office. Interviews from the Police, Motor Traffic and Transport Department, National Road Safety Authority and DVLA officers were done in 2022. It goes on to say the significance of the timeline is that although the documentary highlights challenges and gaps in the driver licensing processes, some of these gaps have either been reformed, fixed, or at an advanced stage of transformation. Example, computer-based text conversion into 6 local languages. Admittedly, there's still room for improving our products and services. There are still unauthorized persons who collude with unscrupulous staff in and around our operational centers across the country. These unauthorized persons take advantage of the gaps as depicted in the documentary to dupe clients of various sums of money in exchange for products and services. The DVLA continues to improve and streamline this critical mandate through various phases of deploying advanced technology and consistently enhance professional competencies. Various reforms have been implemented in the process and in most instances have been remarkably successful in improving the knowledge, skills, and competencies of the driving public. DVLA remains stoically resolute in its commitment to improve road safety and save lives and property through our driver and vehicle licensing operations. So here are the reforms. A, DVLA's invoice system ensures transparency in our changes and also empowers the customer with information about services. An update of our payment platform is currently ongoing and will strategically hasten with a focus on accepting only digital forms of payment for nearly all our services. The authority will launch a mobile app by end of the first quarter. This will give customers the opportunity to verify our product and services and also enable them apply and pay for services and receive notifications. It says the effectiveness of our driver training and education programs as a critical road safety measure cannot be overstated. Indeed, it has been established over the years as a means of improving driver behavior and reducing road traffic crash involvement by road users in our beloved country. And as you may know, 4 of the staff who were captured in that documentary have been interdicted. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. Still to come, KNUST scientists find unacceptable levels of bacteria, fungi in FDA-approved male sexual enhancement herbal drugs.
5 samples. We used 5 samples, and in it we found that 2 of the samples had high levels of microbial contamination. In fact, they were above the limits set by the European Pharmacopoeia.
Many thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, a study carried out by researchers from the KNUST School of Medicine and Dentistry has revealed unacceptable levels of bacteria and fungal contamination of sexual enhancement herbal drugs on the Ghanaian market. The drugs were found to contain 8 bacteria and 3 fungi strains. Joy News medical correspondent Dr. Netta Passam reports.
Been much publicity on male sexual enhancement capsules. Now, these claim to enhance male sexual prowess. Well, I cannot confirm or deny that. However, research shows that there's increasing microbial contamination in these capsules.
There's a lot of ads on these particular drugs. They're always talking about how these drugs can help improve sexual prowess in men. So I've read somewhere in some research article published by one Mr. Cambodian, one other lecturer from College of Science, that herbal drugs usually contain some level of contamination, some level of microbial contamination. So I thought to myself, if these drugs are being advertised so much, then that means there's a high patronage for these drugs. So I wanted to see if there are any herbal microbial contaminations in these drugs, because they are also herbal medicine. We used 5 samples. And in it we found that 2 of the samples had high levels of microbial contamination. In fact, they were above the limits set by the European Pharmacopoeia. Yeah, so in that we isolated the various strains of microbes in the samples, and then we characterized them. So we found 8 bacterial strains and 3 fungal strains. Staphylococcus aureus is a bacteria that is predominantly found on human bodies. We all have it. It's found in our skin, in our noses, in our ears, in fact, all over the body. So if there was any form of contamination from the people interacting with the drugs, like the manufacturers, the people involved in the actual manufacturing of the drug, then that would have been shown by the scoring positive for the Staph aureus test, but there was no Staphylococcus aureus grown in any of the samples. That shows that the people involved actually are not the ones causing the contamination, but the contamination is external from the raw materials that are used in the production of the herbal medicines.
The researchers recommend that the Ghana Standards Authority as well as the FDA put in place checks to ensure that these drugs are wholesome before they are made available on the market. For Joy News, Dr. Netta Pasram.
And bring you some stories on education now. Parents and guardians are frustrated about the high cost of text and exercise books as prices have doubled. Some parents who spoke to Hannah Odame said they're being selective with what to buy since they can't afford all the books prescribed. Some booksellers are also asking government to help regulate the prices of books and also support local publishers.
Prince Johnson entered this bookshop with an amount of money that he was so sure could buy all the test and exercise books for his 2 children. He, however, hesitated with few books because he says the prices of the items had doubled. Unable to buy everything, he resorted to selecting what he considers will be the most needed by his children.
What I budgeted for this one, I think I've exhausted them. And the way the economy is, you don't want to be doing impulse purchasing. So you buy what you have budgeted for. And then when funds are available, then you buy the rest.
These other parents shared similar experiences.
So I buy say books onye bibi found man now for
The cost of books has increased so much that we are unable to buy them. We plead with government to reduce the cost.
You are suffering, my dear. Look, things the books are brought here. It's almost 200 Ghana cedis. And then even previously, you can buy this one at 35 Ghana cedis. But I'm buying it now, 200 Ghana cedis. Imagine, I didn't buy food. So how can we manage to eat?
The booksellers, who are equally worried about the inability of the parents to purchase all they require for their children, had some recommendations.
They should talk to the publishers to reduce the things, and they should reduce the things for the publishers. If they reduce it for them, I think it will come down small for them.
When parents are told the price of the books, they turn back to go home because they cannot afford. The publishers will be supported so they don't keep increasing the prices.
I said books about 30 years, and 30 years there is feasible. We have only a few publishers printing it, but this time the competition is too high, and the increment of the books are too high for us, and the discount is too small. So I'm just begging the publishers to increase the discount for us.
The publishers are also blaming the high cost of printing on the duty they paid on imported materials. They are asking government to reduce the taxes. As it stands, the booksellers are blaming the high cost of their products on the publishers. The publishers are also blaming government for the high duty cost, making it all a government issue to resolve. For Joy News, I am Hannah Odame.
In the Ashanti region, pupils are excited to return to school after the Christmas and New Year break. But at the State Experimental Basic 2 School in Kumasi, lack of furniture remains a major challenge. Love FM's Nana Boachi Iyadom has more in this report.
Furniture deficits coupled with other infrastructural challenges has been identified as a hindrance to good academic activities. The headmaster of State Experimental School, Solomon Osei Kankam, says amidst the joy of students returning to school, furniture shortages has become a burden.
All newcomers who are coming will have to come with their own furniture. Why is that so? Yeah, the problem is that we have the space. We have vacancy to admit. But the furniture, that's the problem. Like I said, most of our furniture are broken, and then you don't have, sometimes you have 3 students sitting on 2. School reopened today for the 2023 academic year, first term. And thanks be to God, the children are here in their numbers. The parents brought them as early as 6:30, 6:15. About 60% of the students were already in school. As we speak, I can confidently say that we have about 85 to 88% of the pupils in school.
So as we explore some challenges here at the State Experimental School, some students also share their joy as school reopens today.
I'm excited to come to school, and I'm very happy that I could see my friends. I'm also happy that my teachers made me very hard to learn and go to the next class. And I'm saying that I will study hard and I won't play anymore so that I could jump to the next class.
I feel happy because I did not see my friends, but now I reopen. I will learn hard to go to the next class.
I'm not going to play for this semester because I have promised that this semester I will learn to be first in class, and I will be first in class in all class Form 1, so that my parents will be happy with me and take me wherever I want to go.
So this has been the response of students as school reopens for the 2022-2023 academic year here at State Experimental School. Nana Boachi Dankwaya reporting for Joy News.
Still on education, 20-year-old James Jopate was the best student in the 2018 Basic Education Certificate Examination in the Upper West Region. Now, James went ahead to secure aggregate 7 in the West African Secondary School Certificate Exam. However, James' desire to pursue a Doctor of Pharmacy program at the University of Health and Allied Sciences hangs in a balance as he is unable to raise an amount of 13,000 Ghana cedis to pay for his admission fees. John News' Upper West correspondent Rafik Salam reports that if James is unable to pursue the course, it will make him the third person in that community to have had access to education at the university level.
Inside the compound of Joropete is a middle-aged woman and 4 children. Each of them is handpicking and winnowing rice for it to be used to prepare the day's meal for them. It is 11 a.m. already. You can call it brunch because they haven't eaten since morning. It is the way of life in this outlanding farming community. 20-year-old James Joropiete has just returned from the farm and brought along feed for the chicken and guinea fowls.
As you can see the environment around, there's absolutely nothing apart from farming that you can do to get your daily bread. So it's just farming that makes people get whatever that they need, apart from farming. Even the school, if you don't farm, no matter how brilliant you may be, and if you don't get support from somewhere, you pass, but you can't go.
James was born in this outlandish farming settlement. He attended the Kunchele primary and junior high schools. Despite the deprived nature of the community, coupled with inadequate teaching materials and teachers, he did not see that as a stumbling block.
Because this place is deprived. When they post teachers from the towns to come and teach, they just come maybe twice in a week, and the rest of the days they will not come. So teaching was going up and down. It was not active.
He attained aggregate 7 in the Basic Education Certificate Examination, BECE. That's making him the best student in the Upper West region in 2018. His reward was a date with President Akufo-Addo, a dream he never envisioned will materialize, but which has also spurred him to greater height.
I thought I was actually dreaming, because initially I didn't think I could have such an opportunity. Looking at where I'm coming from, and I didn't think it was at a position to help me go that far. But at the point of meeting the president and shaking hands with him, in fact, I was really surprised and then also very happy as well. So that was also another point that motivated me to keep working hard.
He gained admission into Nandam Senior High School, where he met students from very endowed homes and schools. That surely did not calm him down, though he initially was nervous.
Initially, I thought there was no way for me, because already they have made it and then they will continue to make it ahead of me. I was nervous. So things were always popping up from my mind that, can I make it among all these people? But I said personally to myself that I'll keep the focus. That determined attitude, that helped me move right from my basic school to that place.
James Joropiete After 3 years of offering general science, he reproduced his BEC results and attained grade 7 and offered admission to pursue doctor in pharmacy at the University of Health and Allied Sciences, UHAS. The deadline of the payment of fees fast approaching. His only hope for now is the West Member of Parliament, Superintendent retired Peter Lenchino Tubu, who has pledged to shoulder that responsibility.
If you are in Kunchile and you can actually qualify for a presidential award, in fact, naturally you are a brain, but I will give the credit to the teachers as well. He wasn't only the only student. Many others did well, but he was just outstanding. And he went ahead to prove it even at the senior high level. And such students should be inspired. And as a politician, believing that I am building better leaders around myself, I can't afford but to support him to go further.
In outlandish communities such as Kunchele, there are several of James who are around and who need a little push so that their life dreams will come true. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Kunchele.
And here in the studio in Accra, I'm Ernest Kojo Manu with Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. On Worry 10, Becky has showbiz. Please stay.